Good afternoon, everybody. It's Friday, it's 2 o'clock, and that means it's Stampin' Chat Live from my craft room in, well, just outside Leamington. It's a horrible day here. It's really, really grey. I don't think I've seen the sun or any blue sky at all today. And to be honest, it's been like this all week. I don't know what it's been like with you. We've had the odd 10 minutes where the sun's come out and the cloud has cleared, but mostly it's been that horrible winter weather that I absolutely detest, where it feels like the sky has come right down. There's no light. I've had the lights on all day long. It doesn't really seem to get light at all day. So I'm happy to be in my craft room crafting rather than outside having to do something, because it's not very nice. It's not been that cold, chilly but not cold, but really not very nice. So Sandy says it's sunny where she is today. Well, I'm very pleased for you, Sandy. I think you have completely different weather over where you live, don't you? It's really interesting how different it is. I am just going to try and get myself up on my iPad, and hopefully I will be live. I obviously am live if Sandy can see me, and you can obviously hear me, Sandy, which is also good. I did yet another test with my microphone this morning, and actually it seems to be working, but I was just so nervous to try and do it live that I didn't. I've got a little test group that nobody can see except for me, so I tested it out in there and all of a sudden it was working fine. But I don't know. If you really can't hear me well, then let me know and I will plug it in and we'll see how we get on. But I decided that I wasn't in a very risk-taking mood today, so I've left the separate microphone off. Okay, I can see Belinda's here. She says hi to everyone. And I can see Mary's here, so welcome to you all. Well, I'd like to know what you've been doing this week. I'm also going to try and straighten this. I think I'm not quite straight. Let's try and, there we go, let's try that. Okay. Well, this week, my feet don't seem to have touched the ground. I've got an all-day class tomorrow. I know some of you will be coming to it. That's my Christmas extravaganza, and it's a really exciting thing to be able to do that live with real people in a room together rather than online as I've had to do it for the last couple, at least the last two extravaganzas. So I'm very much looking forward to that. The class is full. I've got a lot of stuff to bring into the hall. I've been making little treats and I've really enjoyed all the projects that I've done. I've also cut a phenomenal amount of paper and card this week. I will actually do a Facebook post about it. I always count every time I do an extravaganza because I think it's quite interesting to see how many bits of paper, etc. I actually have to cut for a big class. So I think it's a record this time. So I will put that up here at some other point. But I've mostly been doing that this week. I've just got the class to pack up after this, and then I'm all ready. Mince pies are made. I put them in the freezer and they're out the freezer, so there'll be mince pies and all sorts of other things, so I'm very much looking forward to it. Okay, so let's see what everybody else has been up to. So Belinda says that she's glad Sandy has got sunny weather. It's freezing here and the sky is really grey. Yeah, I hate these grey skies, I really do. Sandy says hi to everyone, and she has been busy making cards to give to her friends and family in Canada when they go in 3.5 weeks. Not that you're counting the days, Sandy. I don't blame you at all. Mary says hi to everyone as well. Now, I received your beautiful Christmas card, Sandy. I can confidently say that you are always the first to buy quite some time every year. It's absolutely lovely. I thoroughly enjoyed opening that, so thank you very much. And I'm full of admiration that yours are made, written and posted, because I'm still making, let alone writing or sending. But I'm further ahead this year than last year, so little steps. 1 year I will have them all ready at the beginning of December, but not this year. Okay, so what have I got to tell you? I feel like I've got quite a lot to tell you. I wasn't here last Friday. I really hope none of you forgot that I wasn't going to be here and tuned in and wondered where I was. I was at our Stampin' Up on stage convention. We call it on stage. This year it was on stage at home because it was virtual. So I did spend 2.5 days hunched over a computer, which is not always my favourite thing to do, but it was a really, really engaging event. And there was lots of interesting topics up for discussion, but for me my absolute favourite was seeing the new catalogue, which is coming out in January. So that will be the January to June mini catalogue. We used to call it the spring and summer catalogue. Seeing some of the new products demonstrated. I already had just a few of them to play with, and I've been able to order just a few more. They're in the country. They finally got through customs. They've got through the Eurotunnel delays. I don't know what those were, and I'm really hoping that I'll get them maybe on Monday. So I'm dying to play a bit more with those. And then in December, I'm hoping to be able to order some more. There's a little bit of uncertainty as to what's going to arrive by the 1st of December, but we'll see. But it was really exciting to see those. They've knocked it out of the park for the new catalogue. It's absolutely fantastic. So I know you're going to enjoy that. As soon as I've ordered them, I will get them out to all of you who are current customers. And if you're watching this on the replay, because I know everyone watching now is a current customer of mine, if you're watching on the replay and you don't have a demonstrator who looks after you, then let me know. I'll very happily send a catalogue out to you. I can send catalogues to anybody in the UK or to Austria, France, Germany and the Netherlands as well. Okay, so Belinda is saying she's made 150 Christmas cards so far and she's still going strong. She's got a few big showstopper ones to finish. Mary, you're absolutely right. Belinda is very well organised. So Sandy has spent a fortune since on stage. Yes, Sandy is part of my team, so she attended the event as well, and you obviously enjoyed seeing the new stuff just as much as I did, Sandy. Okay, so every time we have a new catalogue, we also, just before the catalogue starts, we have a month where items that are not going to continue to be available, we tend to call them retiring items, are on a list, and it's your last chance to get them. So that list will come out on the, or start, I should say, start operating on the 1st of December. I've had a quick look at it. I can tell you that there are some things in the July to December mini catalogue, the Christmas catalogue, which are going to continue to be available. There are some which will come back in the same catalogue next year, but will not be available in between. And the vast majority are going. Some of them are discounted, some of them are not. So I will make sure that you have all that information. It's worth saying that once that list starts operating on the 1st of December, it's while stocks last, unless the items are carrying over. So there won't be back orders taken or anything like that. When they're gone, they're gone. If there's something that you know you want, then get in touch with me and I can tell you whether it's going to carry over or whether it's going to hibernate or whether you absolutely need to get it quickly. And then on the 4th of January, the new catalogue will launch. So that's very exciting. Belinda says she's not well organised. She just gets a bit carried away with her projects. Okay, so I'm trying to think what the date is today. The 19th. So today's the 19th. So you have just until the 30th, the end of this month, if you've been umming and ahhing about taking advantage of the special Join Stampin' Up offer. They've taken 25% off the normal cost of joining. It'll cost you £75 this month, and you'll get £130 worth of Stampin' Up goodies of your choice for your £75 payment. That's £55 worth free. One of the perks of being a demonstrator is being able to attend events like I was attending last weekend. There are many, many others. You can order from the catalogue early. You get your catalogue early. You get a 20% discount on everything you buy once you've received your starter kit, your first order, the one I was just talking about. I meet with my team every month. Sometimes we meet online, sometimes we meet actually in person in real life. If you're local to me, therefore you can actually meet with real crafting people. So you might get to know some new friends, some new crafting friends. You have access to all kinds of information and inspiration as a demonstrator. You don't have to demonstrate. We call everybody demonstrators if they're part of the Stampin' Up family, but you only have to demonstrate to other people if you want to, although I suspect a lot of people actually stamp with their friends and don't think about what they're doing, and I suppose you could call that demonstrating, but you're very welcome. You're welcome to support your hobby. Most of my team are hobby stampers and I love them all dearly. Or if you fancy doing a little bit of Facebook Live, or you fancy doing some stamping and selling your projects in a local shop, or if you fancy even maybe running the odd class or two, then that's something you can do as well, but you absolutely don't have to. So it's a great deal. It's a really great deal at the moment. If you've been thinking about it, make sure you sign up in November. Don't wait until December or January, because you will really miss out. This is the best offer I've seen Stampin' Up do, and I've been a demonstrator, as most of you know now, for just over 10 years. So it's a phenomenal offer. I have got confirmed dates for all my classes next year. I'm just putting the finishing touches to the proper list with all the dates in order. I'll be sending that out to everybody who's on my classes mailing list. If you're not on that mailing list but you would like to, then let me know. Yeah, so let me know if you're going to need a list but you don't normally get them, and I will happily organise that for you. I'm hoping to get it finished today, but it may not be till next week. We'll see how the rest of the day goes. Alright, I think that is everything I wanted to say. I'm just checking, I can't see any more comments there. I'm just going to have some tea and then I will turn the camera down and we'll get on with some crafting. So let me know if you're going to be crafting along with me. If you are crafting along with me and you saw the requirements list on the event I posted on Facebook, I have to apologise. I realised this morning there was a typo in it, and your big piece of patterned paper needs to be very slightly narrower than I told you. I told you 5 3/4 inches wide, and actually it needs to be 5 1/2 inches wide, but at least it was that way, not the other. So if you have cut it, I will show you in a second where you need to cut that extra bit from, and I'm very sorry about that. The best will in the world, I make mistakes. So oh, Belinda is talking. Yeah, Belinda is a part of my team. She says there are lots of perks to joining Stampin' Up. She says I'm a fab team leader. You are lovely, Belinda, thank you. Lovely people, great crafting, discounts and lots of cake. What's not to like? And Sandy says if you love crafting, you really should all consider joining the Stampin' Up team as a demonstrator. It's such great fun. And this month is a tremendous deal. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Sandy. Antriana's watching whilst at work. I want to know if you've got the volume up or down, Antriana, or maybe you've got headphones on. You're very welcome. And Anne's here for a little while too. Welcome, Anne. Talking about perks of being a demonstrator, I was on a Zoom call a couple of nights ago, which was really nice. And I've been chatting to Anne online in these lives for a little while, and I actually was able to put a face to the name, so that was really nice, Anne. It was lovely to actually see you properly. Okay, right, so I am now going to cover up the camera, move it all down, and then we'll do some crafting. So bear with me while it all goes yellow. That's just so I don't make you feel too sick while I move everything around. Always, I will no doubt have to do a little bit of fiddling around once I think I've got it where I want it. I definitely do not find this one as easy as my last camera stand, but that one did break, which was not wonderful, so hence I've got this new one, which is incredibly sturdy, but just isn't quite as manoeuvrable. I'm just altering the height of something. Nearly there. Just talk amongst yourselves. Okay. I know what I've forgotten to do. I have forgotten to do the mirror imaging, which I can do on this, although as I discovered on my team meeting the other day, I can no longer do on that. I think I've pressed the right button, we'll soon find out. If not, I will just redo it. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, no, so I haven't pressed the right button, so bear with me. Let's just try, not that one, let's try that one. Aha, that's better. That's much better. Okay, I'm still just fiddling with this stand to see if I can get a better view for you. I think I'm just going to have to move this forward. So you've got my tripod legs there, but there we go. I can't do much about that. Let's see if I can get rid of that cable. Okay, so how is that for all of you? Can you see what I'm doing? Hoping you can. Oh, Andriana's got the volume up. She'll pretend to be on a conference call if she has to. Excellent. It's nice to see that you've got your priorities absolutely right, Andriana. Okay, now I've got some shadows here because I've got all the lights on. Let me just put my extra light on and see if that helps. It may not. So people are saying it looks good. I think that's worse actually with that light. Let me just fiddle with the placement a little bit. Aha. I think that might be better. Not sure. I think that's even more shadowy, isn't it? Let's turn that off a sec. We'll see how we get on without it. But if it gets really dark, I will put it back on. All right. So what I wanted to show you today is a card where you're going to use patterned paper, because there is so much beautiful patterned paper in the new catalogue that you need to use your stash so that you can have some from the new catalogue in January, because I promise you, you're absolutely going to want to. You won't be able to resist buying it, and you won't need to feel guilty if you've used some up now. So these cards use almost half a sheet of patterned paper. You'll be left with a couple of little snippets as offcuts, but it's basically half a sheet of patterned paper. To make a really lovely card, really simply, you can see both sides of the paper. So I think it also meets that dilemma of which side do I have showing, and I can't bear to cover up the back because it's so pretty. I'm making only Christmas cards because, unlike Sandy, I still have cards I need to make. So I thought, well, why not make some while I'm live and then I can send them later. But this will work beautifully with pretty much any paper you can think of. So it's a really, really nice card base. And previously, when I've shown things where you're using patterned paper as part of the card base, people really love those, because I think as paper lovers, we all have lots and lots of paper, and a lot of the time we stroke it, but we know that really we should use it. So this is a possible solution for that. Belinda's saying it's better without the light. So is Sandy. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, good view of my tripod legs, Sandy. I can't really seem to work around that. Maybe I need to decorate them or something, I don't know. And Kay is here. Hi Kay, she's saying hello to everyone. Well, we haven't started crafting, Kay, so you haven't missed anything important like that. All right, so this is my card, and if I undo the ribbon is optional, but actually I think it just makes it really pretty, and I'm a bit of a ribbon hoarder as well as a paper hoarder, so it's good to use up my ribbon. Then the card opens out like this. So I love this side with these little banks of pine trees. So that was the one that I've picked to show mostly on the inside. And let me just fold that up again so you can see it. But I can also see the back side of it here. So I can see both sides of the patterned paper. I've got a panel on the front, and then I've got small panels inside. And if you read the requirements for today, you'll have seen that I suggested that you waited to cut these until you saw what I was actually doing, because depending on what you want to put on your panels in here, that will affect the size of them. I wanted to use these sentiments, and so I cut my panels accordingly. If I'd had something taller, or I wanted to put an image in here, I might have needed to alter the size of those panels. I could put a panel on every single section of this paper as well if I wanted to, but I decided to just stick to 2. Now, I can't take any credit at all for this style of card. I first saw this from an American demonstrator called Meg Loven. You can find her work at lovenstamps.com, and her surname is L-O-V-E-N, Loven. She does beautiful projects, and I really liked this one. I've got glitter off my ribbon stuck on my card front. There we are. I've used the I want to say Peaceful Cabin suite. It's probably Peaceful Place, is it? I'm just looking it up. I can never remember. Peaceful Place suite. So I've got the patterned paper on here. I've got some of the stamps. I have mixed and matched my Christmas greetings just a little bit. This one is from the Peaceful Cabin stamp set, but this one is from, let me find it, Inspired Thoughts, which has got some really nice, really interesting sentiments on it, and it has actually got this nice Christmassy one here too. You use whatever you've got. If you're doing a birthday one, then just have a good look through all your stamps and just pick out what works. You may have stamps that coordinate with the paper you're using, you may not, but you can really mix and match with these. So Belinda says she loves this sparkly ribbon and she has many reels of it. You and me both, Belinda. Yes, I think it's so pretty. Okay, and this card does open up like a conventional card as well, so there's space to write inside. And I've taken the Snowflake Sentiment from Snowflake Wishes, which is another favourite set of mine. This was actually around last year as well, so I know lots of you have this. And this card will stand up. So you can display it on a mantelpiece with no problems at all, even though the paper on the front does not come right down to the bottom. When you open it, it just leans forward just that tiny bit, so the paper just stands up really nicely. And there's a lot of weight on the front of the card, but it's very stable when it sits. I have added an insert, and I would have done even if I'd got a white card base, because that does just add a little bit of extra weight in the back. All right, so how are we going to make this? Well, first of all, you need some patterned paper. So I'm going to make a couple of cards if we have time. What time is it? Yes, I have to get my skates on a bit. A couple of cards. And I'm using, oh goodness me, my memory is completely gone. What's this paper called? Painted Christmas. I'm sure it is. I've got my catalogue here. Painted Christmas paper. Yeah. Which I really like. I love traditional greens and reds at Christmas. So I've got all my bits and pieces here. So my card base is just a standard portrait card base, which is a piece of card 8 inches by 5 3/4 and scored at 4 inches. And my insert is 5 3/4, 5.5 by 3 3/4. If anybody wants me to write that down, let me know. I've got a little scrap of paper there in case I decide I want to put that on my insert. Ooh, Belinda says, I've given her an idea, just opening the card. She's going to play later. She thinks she could wrap the patterned paper card around a concertina fold card. Game on. Well, that's one I can't wait to see, Belinda. Make sure you share that. Sounds fabulous. Sandy was so disappointed they discontinued the sparkly ribbon. Did they, Sandy? Did they? I'm just having a look. Just having a look on my list here. Nope, it's carrying over. So you might be thinking about something else, or maybe this ribbon looks like something different. But actually, this ribbon is going to continue to be available until the end of the annual catalogue. So fear not. I don't know if it went out of stock, but the glittered organdy ribbon is going to continue to be available. So that is good news if you thought it was not. Right, I'm going to grab a bit of paper and then I can write down those measurements for you. All right, let me find a nice black pen that will show up. Okay, so the card base is 8 inches by 5 3/4 inches, scored at 4 inches. And the insert. So Sandy's saying, OMG, her poor husband. That's another order then for the ribbon. So Mary, anyone else keep losing sound? It may be because I have to remember to keep my head towards the my phone, which is what I'm doing this on, Mary. I apologise about that. The microphone on my phone is quite directional, so if I move, the sound is not so good. So my apologies for that. Maybe next week I'll take a risk and put my microphone back in and we'll see what happens, because if I have my separate microphone, the sound quality is much better. But as you know, there was some blip with Facebook where it was just giving no sound at all, even though the microphone was working. And I know of other people who've had that issue recently as well, and there doesn't seem to be any explanation at all that any of the tech people I know can find. It's just some weird Facebook thing. But maybe I'll try again next week. Okay, so the insert is 5.5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. Okay, I hope you can see that okay. Let me know if I need to write bigger. And then a piece of patterned paper. So this is the piece that when I put the measurements in the event on Facebook, I gave you a slightly rogue measurement, but I will give you the correct measurement now. So my paper is 5.5 inches, and that's the wrong measurement. I told you 5 3/4. 5.5 inches by 11.5 inches. So if you cut your paper following my instructions, this bit will be 5 3/4. So all you need to do is just cut 1/4 inch off one of the long sides and you'll be fine. And then your paper needs to be scored at 1 3/4 inches, 4 3/4 inches, and 7 3/4 inches. Okay, so that's your measurements. If anybody needs me to read them out again, let me know. So here is my, I don't know if I can keep that on screen at the same time, let's try. Here is my patterned paper. I've scored it and folded it already. So have the sides that you want to see most of facing uppermost. If I bring back my other card, which I can't now see, there it is. On this one I wanted to see most of the trees, so I had that uppermost when I was folding. And then you're going to make a valley fold in this end, and then a mountain fold, and then a valley fold. Okay, so let me do that again. You want a valley fold, so like that, so I'm making a valley with the right side up. I'm making a mountain fold like a mountain, and then I'm making another valley fold. And then you want to use your bone folder on all of those. Make sure they're really nice and crisp, and make sure that here where all your folds line up, that they are all lined up properly. As always with a shaped card, it makes a big difference if you are accurate with your folding and scoring. Okay, so that's my paper all ready. So the first thing I'm going to do is to glue that onto here. So I'm just going to glue all over the back panel, and then when that's fixed in place, it will open out like that. So my card base is real red. I've just picked one of the colours in the paper. And I'm sure you know, but in case you don't, your Stampin' Up paper will have all the colours listed on the insert that comes with it. So you can instantly see which colours are the colours in the paper, and that way you will get your perfect coordination. Right, so that is that. Now let me find my other bits and pieces. All right, so I've got some stamping that I'm going to do inside. let me pull up all my other bits and pieces. I've got some dimensionals. I'm definitely going to need those. I've got loads of stamps here. I'll tell you about those in a minute. Now, you don't need loads of stamps to make this. In fact, you don't need to do a great deal of stamping at all because the patterned paper is doing all the hard work. But sometimes it's quite nice to get out all my festive stamp sets and see what I can do with them together, and that's actually what I did this time. All right, so I have some contrast card and some white card to stamp. For this panel, I have the same for another panel, and then for the front I have 2 layers that I've cut with the Stitched So Sweetly dies, which is going to go on like that. These dies are fabulous. You probably heard me tell you that before, but they honestly are. Stitched So Sweetly, they're called. And there's kind of 2 sets in one here. They all have a stitching detail on them, which is really pretty. And you have a set of nesting rectangles. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nesting rectangles. The small ones are just the right size for a label to put a sentiment on. The biggest ones are big enough to do layers on card front. So I've got the biggest and the second to biggest ones I've used here. And then the other set of the dies are a whole load of different shapes, but they stack together beautifully, either with each other or with the rectangles. It's one of my most used die sets, this one. It always seems to have a die the right size for the layer I want to make. Stitched So Sweetly, highly recommended. All right, so I'll come back to this one. I'm just going to do my sentiments first. And on this one, I'm going to use Wishing You All the Beautiful Gifts of Christmas, which is the one from Inspiring Thoughts. And I'm going to stamp that in Garden Green ink, which is one of the greens in my patterned paper. And I might have to just bring this down a bit so that I can get my head over it and get everything in the middle, hopefully. So that's that one. And then on this one, I have one which reads, hoping that your busy year comes together in Christmas cheer. Now, I've certainly had a busy year, so I thought that was quite apt to send to other people as well. And that one is from Perfectly Plaid, which is, again, another old set. It's got these little Christmas trees. It coordinates with the pine tree, I think it's called Punch. Nice set, this one. So again, I'm going to use Garden Green ink on that. I'm hoping you're not getting the top of my head, and if you are, my apologies. There we are. Ooh, I'm just checking the comments and I've lost them. There we go. So I'm just going to mat those onto some real red card. So just cut your pieces to suit your sentiment. You just want the same size as your sentiment and a little bit round. If you want to do extra stamping around the edge, just make your piece of card a little bit bigger. And then I've cut my red layer 1/4 of an inch bigger all round, which gives me a border of 1/8 of an inch. And now I'm just going to stick those in place on my layers. I didn't want to hide too much of this pretty paper, so I've used quite small panels, but you could go bigger. I made myself a template with all the measurements on, just so that's easy to keep for reference. And on these I used bigger layers in there. I didn't want to go huge because, again, I think you're using the patterned paper to display it, but you could go much, much bigger. But just look at what you want to stamp and then cut your layers accordingly. So that's all my decoration inside done. Now I'm going to put a panel on here. So I'm going to stamp Merry Christmas in the middle, and then I'm going to add some more stamping around that. Oh, hang on, I need my foam mat. Alright, so that's that. And then actually I'm going to just pop my foam mat underneath my paper so that I can stamp off the edge of it without getting ink all over my mat, which will inevitably then transfer onto my card. So I have some of the stamps from the coordinating stamp set for my paper, which is Christmas season. So I'm going to use these two leaves here, and this pine branch and the berries as well. So they're a separate stamp for the stem and for the berries, which makes it really easy to get a two-coloured image. So where are we? So I'm going to use garden green ink again. First of all, I'm going to stamp this off once, so I've got less ink on here. Like that, I think. And then I'm going to use the stamp that gives me the leaf detail with the same ink but straight from the ink pad. And I do have to get my head exactly over this just to look through the stamp and line it up. There we are. So then I've got some detail on that stamped image. I haven't planned out quite how I'm going to do these, so let's have a look. I think I'm going to have a spray of berries coming in the top like that. Belinda says she really likes this design. It's different to the one I've shown you before where you folded the DSP. Yes, it is different, you're quite right. And she thinks either of them are great for using up your patterned paper. Yeah, I do too, Belinda, absolutely. And because you're using patterned paper, a lot of the decorative work has been done for you by the paper, which is really nice. Let me just turn this round. Okay, so I've stamped the stems of the berries, and now I'm just adding the berries themselves. Because these stamps are photopolymer, it's very easy to see through to what you're doing. Now I might actually not do any more than that. Let me just have a look. I'm just going to lay that on there and lay it on my card and see what I think. Yeah, I don't think it needs any more than that. Alright, so I'm going to layer these two pieces together. And then this will be going on here, and just be cautious here, because if I put glue all over the back here and then stick it down, I'm not going to be able to open up my paper layer. So I just want to put adhesive on the left hand side. Now I'm going to use dimensionals because that will allow me to slide my ribbon underneath. If you don't want to use ribbon, you can still use dimensionals, or you could stick that completely flat just with multi-purpose glue. But I'm going to add some stamping dimensionals on the back, and let me just have a look. So yeah, I can go out roughly as far as that H. And I'm going to make sure that I leave a gap so that I can thread the ribbon through the middle. I'm using quite a lot of dimensionals. I always do anyway, because I don't like things to get squashed in the post. But there's no adhesive on there, so this has got to hold it firmly while the paper is being opened and shut. So there's quite a lot of movement on this card. And when I've got a moving card, I'm always very careful to use plenty of adhesive so nothing works loose. And I do want to make sure that this sentiment here is hidden by my front layer, which which I can do like that. There we are. So all that adhesive is here, none of it's showing here. Then I've got some of this real red sheer ribbon, so I'm just going to thread it underneath my panel there into the gap between the dimensionals, and then round to the front. I'm not fixing the ribbon at all because I do want it to be able to move. When I undo this, you'll see that it needs to be able to move with the card. Let me just neaten the ends on that. My scissors are horribly sticky. Hopefully they will still cut it. I need to give them a bit of a clean. I've got a bow that doesn't want to sit straight, but I'll be untying it in a second. There we go. So here's the front of my card, and I'm just looking. I think that needs a little bit of bling. What do you think? I have some red rhinestones here, which I love this time of the year. And I think I'm just going to pop one onto each of these berries just as a subtle highlight. I don't want lots of sparkle, but I just want a little something on this. And there is actually a pale area in the stamping, so I've just added my rhinestone on top of that. So let's hopefully get this in focus from the camera. If I tilt it slightly, you can, I hope, see the light catch on those rhinestones. There we go. So if I undo that, if you just watch what happens to the ribbon as I open the card. There, you'll see that the ribbon threads through. It needs to expand right across the back like that. When the card is folded, it's here, but as you unfold it, it needs to move like that, and that's why you don't want to fix your ribbon in place. You could fix it if you wanted to behind your front panel and leave the back loose. I've just left my ribbon trailing, and that seems to work just fine. So that's all of the front part, and I just need to pop in my insert now. So I've got a spare piece of paper here, but I think I might, will I stamp it? No, I will use the paper actually, because I've made a real feature of the paper on the front of the card. This is actually just a little offcut left from when I cut my paper for the front. So I'll stick that on the bottom, and it's, what does it measure? It's a 1/2 inch wide, this little strip of paper. And then I'm going to stamp a Merry Christmas in there, and I'm going to use this Merry Christmas, which is from Poinsettia Petals. The images on the cover are much reduced. It's that image there. You can see it's a lot bigger than it looks. I really like the font on this one, so I think I'm going to stick with my garden green ink. That's a nice smudge, isn't it? Okay, so we'll turn over. I'm sure I have another piece of patterned paper that I can put on there. Better. It was all going so well. I have, but it's the other side of the room, so I'm not going to get up and get that. However, I will put a strip of paper along the bottom there, and so I won't stick this in until I've done that, but that's what the inside is going to look like with some paper on it. Or actually I could just stamp it, couldn't I? Let's just stamp it, then I can finish it properly. There we go. I do prepare for these sessions, but sometimes you just have to do things off the cuff. Just pop some leaves there. And coming in at the top. So Anne says that she really likes this. Yeah, I do too, Anne. I can take no credit at all for the actual card design, but I'm very glad I found it. It's a lovely fold. There we are. Right, let's pop some glue on here. I think I can get away with having that strip of paper on the back without it showing, and I know you won't tell anyone, so we'll just stick this down and pretend it was perfect right from the start. There we are. Oh, that's better. Okay, so let's fold that up, bring the ribbon round, and there we are. So that's my first card. I'm going to quickly clean my stamps because I'm going to use them again, and I'm essentially going to make exactly the same card, but I have some different paper from the same pack, and that will give us a very different looking card. Making multiples of the same card is a great time saver, and it's something that I often do this time of year, but I don't actually like making two cards exactly the same. So what I tend to do is to change something, and in this case it's very easy to simply change the paper pattern but do everything else the same. And if I'm picking paper from the same pack, I know the colours are going to work nicely, and so I can just do the same again but end up with a card that's a bit different. So I'm just pulling out, I've got some pine cone stamps here, which are from the Christmas season set, the same as those leaves were. And I'm going to stamp my pine cones in early espresso and crumb cake. And then I'm going to do my foliage in evening evergreen, because the paper I've chosen has evening evergreen in it. So I've picked this paper, which has got these little groups of pine cones as well as a scattering of single pine cones, and on the back it's got conifers and spatters, so it's really pretty paper. I like this side the best, so I folded it exactly as before so that I've got mostly conifer paper showing. I'm just going to drink some of my tea. Thank you, Belinda, I'm glad you like it. So my card base is evening evergreen. My ribbon is also evening evergreen, and this is, what's it called? Open weave ribbon. So we have it in all the new in colours. So it's lovely. It's got an open weave in the middle and then satin edges. And then I have my paper for card for stamping and my contrast card cut to exactly the same sizes as for the card I've just made. Because I'm going to use exactly the same stamps, which is a speedy way of doing it. So if you want to make a batch of cards, then cut all your pieces first, and then do all your stamping, and then do all your constructing. Rather than doing one card at a time, it's much, much quicker if you're a little bit pressured and you're having to make lots of cards to kind of batch make. So put the processes together and do all the cutting, then do all your stamping, and then do all your gluing together, and you'll find before you know it you've got a stack of cards made. So I'm going to stick my paper on. I already had it scored and folded, and that's not straight, that's straight. There we go. Now I've got glue all over my hands as well as ink. Alright, so this is my first sentiment, which is wishing you all the beautiful gifts of Christmas. And I'm going to stamp that in Evening Evergreen ink. And just glue these together. And then my second one, where is it? There we go, which is the one about having had a busy year. Despite all the things we haven't been able to do this year, it has been a busy one. Ooh, and I need the mat underneath, don't I? Were you shouting? Put the mat underneath. Okay, so that's my two pieces for the inside of my card. Ooh, that's not straight. There. Let's pop those in place. And then I just need to stamp this panel for the front. So once again I'm going to pop Merry Christmas on there. And then I'm going to stamp some pine cones. Let's just pop this underneath in case I end up going off the edge. There we are. So these are again from the Christmas season stamp set. So there's a large pine cone and a small one, and they're two-step stamping, which means that you have two separate images to make up one complete image. And there are, I'll just stamp them and show you. For each of those, actually I think that large pine cone is going to be too big, so let's just do the small one. So there's that one, which is has more on it. It's a more of a solid image, and then this one which has detail on it. Okay, so the one with more, I don't know how to describe it, more coverage if you like, that lays down more ink is your first one, and do that in the lighter colour, and the one that you're going to put on top has all the detail, do that in your darker colour. So I have Crumb Cake and Early Espresso. So I think I want to do a couple. Do I want to do a couple? No, I don't think I do. I think I just want to do one pine cone here, and we'll put some foliage around it. So again, I need to just get right above this and line up those layers. So that then becomes a much more 3D looking pine cone. And then I'll bring back my evergreen ink, and I have a pine branch here, which seems the right kind of image to use with pine cones. I think my ink pad needs re-inking. And then I'm just going to bring in a little bit at the top, like that. Then I'll layer that onto my layer. Again, I've cut both of these with a Stitched So Sweetly dies. And I'm going to put my dimensionals on the left hand side of the back of that. Leaving a gap in the middle again so that I can thread some ribbon through. Bring back my card, lay this on top. I want to cover over that sentiment there just so that it looks nice and neat from the front. There we go. And then last of all, I'm just going to stamp my insert. So where's my other Merry Christmas? Here it is. I definitely need to re-ink this ink pad. Part in the middle has not got much ink on it at all. And then I'm just going to add a pine cone down at the bottom. I am so messy. There we are. And I'm going to add a little bit of the conifer foliage as well. I'm running out of space on my desk. How does that happen, honestly? I've got a big table here and I'm working as usual in about 6 inches with stuff everywhere. So a bit either side, and then I'm just going to fill in that gap there with some more coming in, and then as I did on the front, bring a couple of bits in from the side. So I'll glue that in place, and then once I've threaded my ribbon through, this card is done. So it comes together quite quickly. If you want to make some of these at home, definitely cut all your bits and stack them up and then sit down and make, because once you've cut everything, the making is really quite quick, even though it's a relatively involved card. ribbon ends. And there is our card. I'm just going to move all these inky stamps out of the way. Let's bring in the red one. Shall I tie that ribbon around so it's nice and neat? There we are. So Anne loves those colours too. Yeah, I do as well, Anne. They're very different, but they're all very festive and they're very beautiful, I think, these papers. Very elegant. And where's my grey one with the peaceful cabin? Here it is. Let's just tie that one up too. So I now have 3 more cards to add to my pile, which is good. Not quite Belinda's 150, but I'm getting there. There we are. So 3 lovely cards, all using this beautiful patterned paper. And although I find it quite hard to use my paper, I am always glad when I have, because it just makes such lovely projects. So keep a sheet of everything if you absolutely have to, but try and use it because I promise you, come January when you see the new catalogue, you are really going to want some of that new paper because it's stunning. All right, I'm just going to cover you over and bring you back up to me so I can say a proper goodbye. I think it was that one. I think I've just taken off the reverse camera. We'll soon find out. The button used to go blue when it was on, and now it doesn't. Facebook in their wisdom have decided to take that feature away, so I can't actually tell if I've turned it on or off, but it looks like I've managed to. All right, well, I hope you have a lovely weekend, whatever you're doing. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to be back here 2 o'clock next Friday. I think I know what I'm doing, but it involves a new stamp set that I haven't actually played with yet. So I'm not going to tell you what it is until I've had a chance to play with it, but I will put an event here on the page next week to let you know what I will be doing. So there's a little surprise there for you. So Anne's got to go. You're very welcome, Anne. Thank you so much for joining us. And Mary's enjoyed it too. You are most welcome, Mary. So I will see you all same time, same place next week. Thank you very much, Belinda. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.